Hello and welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests on this next interview. Hungary's government is facing explosive allegations that sensitive EU discussions may have reached Moscow. Claims linked to Foreign Minister Petőfi, who acknowledges regular contact with Sergei Lavrov but denies any wrongdoing. The story has now taken a turn, with an investigative journalist facing espionage charges, a move critics say is an attempt to silence scrutiny. As Orban frames it as foreign meddling and opponents warn of intimidation, the stakes now reach press freedom, national security, as well as Hungary's place in Europe. Joining us today on TVP World to unpack it all is Csaba Lukács, Managing Director of Magyar Hung, a leading voice in Hungary's independent media landscape. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Good evening and thank you for the invitation.
So a lot of developments just in the past few days. Currently, what are some of the key facts that has been established so far and what remains kind of unclear and disputed at this stage?
According to Szabolcs Panyi, EU and NATO national security services have had information since at least 2016 indicating that large sums of cash and precious stones may be arriving from Russia on Hungarian government aircrafts or private jets used by the Hungarian government officials. Officials from at least 6 different countries have reported such information. This information was not obtained through the interception or surveillance of Hungarian targets or Hungarian infrastructure. Rather, for example, 2 Russian officials were intercepted while discussing this, or they were entrusted with preparing the shipment. We knew from Szabolcs Panyi that he has been documenting for more than 10 years how Russian interests are infiltrating Hungarian politics. Since 2022, he has been investigating the relationship between Szijjártó and Russian officials. And according to the journalist, the leaked audio recording also mentions that even EU intelligence agencies are recording communication between Szijjártó and Lavrov. So the Hungarian Association of Hungarian Journalists, MOS, issued a statement protesting government actions that accuse an investigative journalist of espionage. Instead of thoroughly investigating the details of the case, the authorities are seeking to send Szabolcs Panyi to prison.
Right. So like I mentioned, a lot of things have been discovered and through various different sources, but the Hungarian authority are trying to charge the journalists behind it with espionage charges. What are their justification for doing so?
They have intercepted a call of Szabolcs Panyi from an unknown person, saying that he was giving the telephone number of Péter Szijjártó to a secret service from abroad. But that's ridiculous, because the Hungarian Foreign Ministry telephone number is well known for many journalists and for many EU officials. So that's clearly not espionage, but they want to find an argument to arrest the journalist.
Right, and how is it being perceived in Hungary? Are people kind of outraged about the fact that the government is going after an independent journalist?
To be honest, almost every day there is a scandal that would bring down an entire government elsewhere. So we have no time to digest these kind of topics. Yesterday, a documentary titled "The Price of the Vote" was released, which shows how vulnerable poor people of the smallest villages are being convinced with money, drugs, and blackmailing into voting for Fidesz. This film was viewed by 700,000 people in a single day. 2 days before, an interview with a police officer who has since been fired by the government gained even more views, 2 million. In it, the investigator discussed how 2 IT specialists working for the TISA party, which is the largest opposition party, were reported for possession of child pornography, The case, presumably orchestrated by the Secret Service, was intended to allow for the seizure of all data storage devices, after which the data of TISA party volunteers was leaked into the internet. So the Secret Service attempted to recruit the IT specialists to undermine the political party. So a case of a journalist is not so important because we have many scandals every day.
Wow, that does sound like there's a lot going on over there. Do you think that an arrest of a journalist or even opposition figure, like people such as someone that's just responsible for IT, is going to send any sort of chilling effect for anyone that tries to speak out or run against the governing party?
I don't think that the government party will go, or the government will go so far. So they are starting investigation, but they are not brave enough to act, to make arresting or other kind of things. You should know that we are 2 weeks before the elections, and the PISA party has gained ground within the margin of error, leading Fidesz, the governmental party, at least with 9 percentage point. Among party voters, but another survey made by Median 2 days ago showed that they are leading with 23% gap between TISA and Fidesz among certain voters who are able to vote. So, and the voter turnout is expected to be very high, nearly 90% on the April 12 elections. So I don't think that the government will go further, because they are risking to have a landslide victory of TISA in 2 weeks.
Right, so it does sound like instead of trying to blow this up there, or trying also to just intimidate said journalists when it comes to trying to justify these espionage charges against him. But how are these developments being interpreted by Hungary's allies in the EU and NATO?
Everybody is watching what is happening in Hungary, and they have no time to digest as well. 2 days ago, I was invited by Finnish embassy for a talk, and the ambassador was saying that they could not follow how fast the things are going in Hungary, and they have no time to report one scandal, immediately the other one is showing up. So there is a huge interest about Hungarian elections. We have many international journalists who are coming to cover the elections, and everybody is waiting what will happen, but we don't have time to digest. As I mentioned, the things are happening so fast, and we don't know what will be the final result at the elections, how will come, but probably TISA party, the opposition, will win the elections. Everybody was expecting like something will happen in the campaign from Fidesz party, so there were rumors that the Russian intelligence service will organize the false attempt against the prime minister, but this was fortunately was not happening. So we don't know. We cannot see any turning point on the election campaign, which could be in favor of the government party, Fidesz.
Right, like I mentioned, a lot of scandal coming out one after another in a pace so fast that people can't even properly comprehend it. But how is that working overall within the electorate? Do you think that these kind of one scandal after another will eventually create some sort of avalanche when it comes to dissatisfaction and opposition votes? Or do you think that it's going to create some kind of apathy within the voters, being bombarded by so much of this information that they just feel like, okay, it's probably not worth paying attention to it anymore?
There is definitely no apathy in Hungary, so the political atmosphere is really blowing up, and the voting already started. So we have 500,000 voters abroad who are voting by mail. That's already started, and we could see many ridiculous things. In Romania, we have more than 300,000 voters who are voting in the Hungarian election because they are part of the Hungarian minority, and now they are going to the churches, to markets, to grocery shops, because some civil organizations, but paid by Fidesz, are collecting their votes. So these votes probably will go for the Fidesz, but there will be long queues on the Western European embassies. And those young people who left Hungary because of the Fidesz probably will vote for the opposition. So we are expecting an extremely high turnout, like 90%, which never happened before in Hungary. And probably we will have a two-party parliament only, because if there will be a high presence, the third party, the Mi Hazánk, which is a far-right party, probably will not jump that 5% barrier. So we will not enter to the parliament. So the question is, who will win, and if TISA party will have the 2/3 in the parliament, and they can change the whole Fidesz nominees who are ruling now the constitutional court, the public television. So in every important position, there are Fidesz people, and they can change only by 2/3. So the question is if TISA party will have 2/3 to make these changes, or they will have a simple majority, and then they will have serious problems how to handle the government.
Right, like you mentioned, we're expecting a very high turnout, and people are very motivated. But looking at the poll, it does feel like the opposition is looking quite favorable. However, there is also an argument to be made that the electoral system generally does favor the ruling party at the moment, just by the way it is structured, it is built up. And also 2/3 is a pretty high threshold. You just mentioned earlier that if the 2/3 cannot be reached, there's going to be some trouble. Can you help us explain a little bit of how that is going to look?
Every important position, it's nominated for 9 years in Hungary. So the president of the constitutional court, the president of media organization, the judges are nominated for 9 years, and Fidesz was taking care to renew them currently to have a 9-year advantage. So they cannot be changed only with 2/3 of constitutional majority. And also, the whole economy is in hand of Fidesz oligarch. But which is really interesting and important, we have some news that the Fidesz oligarchs started to move their assets to abroad. Effort to safeguard the assets of oligarchs close to Fidesz have begun. The son of the former president of the National Bank is shipping his collection of classic cars and other valuables to Dubai in several containers. And the wealthiest company owned by Hungary's richest man, Lőrinc Mészáros, who is a childhood friend of Viktor Orbán, recently transferred nearly 1 billion euros to the entrepreneur's account, to his personal accounts. So these signs are showing that even the Fidesz oligarch are preparing to lose the elections.
All right, so a lot going on there in Hungary. Thank you so much for your input and insight. Really appreciate it, and thanks for being with us here on TVP World.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
Appreciate it. And thank you for tuning into this edition of World Talks. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.